What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to go through all the available methods to prevent your pipes from freezing when temperatures start to drop. So let's get right into it. First off, what do you do if your pipe is already frozen? If the pipe is already frozen, you could use any available source of heat, such as a hairdryer, a heat gun, a small portable heater, or even an incandescent light if that's all you have. If for whatever reason you have no electricity, which is a common thing in freezing temperatures, you could use a camping propane stove to heat some water up, and with the hot water, use a towel or rag to wrap the frozen pipe to try to thaw it out. And lastly, a plumbing torch. Some people say it's dangerous to use this method and all, but if done safely, it's actually the most efficient way of thawing a frozen pipe. Just make sure to have an extinguisher close by. Also, when trying to thaw a frozen pipe, keep the water on and open a faucet nearby. This will allow you to see if any progress is being made, and the flowing water helps dissolve the block of ice inside the pipe, making it that much quicker. So with that out of the way, let's go through all the 12 different methods to prevent this from happening. 90% of the time, a pipe will freeze where it goes from the inside of the building or home to the outside, as the cold from the outside leaches the heat from the pipe, thus freezing it. Nevertheless, it needs to be addressed before it happens. So the first method would be to shut off the valve inside the house that serves your outdoor spigot. Your outdoor spigot or spigots must be isolated from the cold in winter by making sure there's no water inside of them. Typically, you'd find this valve inside a couple of feet away from where your spigot is. So you just need to close it before sub-zero temperatures arrive and empty out the remaining water after the valve. Just doing this will eliminate a lot of problems. On to the next method. The second preventative measure would be to install a Frostproof spigot. These special spigots have a long shaft in them which closes the water inside the house instead of outside, keeping the water nice and toasty. What's fun about these is you don't need to think of closing a valve inside the house when the cold arrives. And plus, there's almost no chances of it freezing if it was installed correctly. These go for around $50 depending on the size, and it's well invested in my opinion. I made a video on how to properly install one like this, and I'll link it here and in the description box if you want to watch it. Number 3 is disconnecting your hoses before winter. Now, whether you have a Frostproof spigot or not, you must always disconnect your garden hoses before freezing temperatures. Here's why. By leaving your hose connected as such, all the water inside of it stays trapped, and if it freezes, the cold will leach the heat from the pipe, freeze it, and crack the pipe opened. However, it'll only leak in spring when it starts getting hotter. So always disconnect your garden hose to make sure all the water is drained out. The fourth method is installing one of these. These reusable devices are called outdoor faucet insulators. They're made of styrofoam and use a rubber band with a sliding lock to secure it over your spigot to insulate it from the elements in winter. These are cheap insurance and super effective, which is why I recommend installing one as a secondary protection, even if you have a Frostproof silcock. What's fun about them is they cost around $1 or $2 and take 10 seconds to install. Sometimes, depending on what type of siding you have, you won't be able to install these. So let's continue on with the other methods to see if there's something better suited for you. The fifth way to prevent any freezing would be to insulate the pipe. Insulating is one of the more common solutions for this problem for do-it-yourselfers and gives some form of protection against the cold. However, insulation is just as good at keeping heat away from a pipe than it is from the cold, so pipe insulation can't be used for every situation. For example, If you have a heated room with a non-frostproof spigot outside, installing insulation on the pipes will actually harm instead of doing good. So you be the judge for your specific situation. The sixth solution is to install a heated cable like this. These heated cables are a nice indoor fix that anybody can install. All you need is a long enough extension and some electrical tape. The way it works is that the wire has a thermostat on it, which needs to be in contact with the pipe as such, and turns on as soon as the pipe reaches 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius to prevent it from going below freezing temperature. These can be installed anywhere in the house where a freeze is prone to occur, as long as there's an electrical plug nearby. It is suggested by the manufacturer to insulate the pipe to make sure the heat stays inside and isn't wasted in the air. Another great way to keep things warm is to insulate the house itself. A lot of problems come from the house not being properly insulated. If you own a house that was built before the 70s, you most probably don't have any insulation. A good non-invasive way to check is to remove an electrical switch cover and visually inspect from there. If there's no insulation, it might be worth having a contractor come over to insulate to have less cold air come in. Some things you could do yourself would be to replace or install weather stripping on doors, use some expandable foam where you feel cold air coming in, and to buy some fiberglass bats to block off colder areas. Also, avoid running pipes in an exterior wall when doing projects, as it'll be more prone to freezing there. Another good preventative tip is for when you go on vacation. I personally recommend closing the main water valve and draining the system as much as possible before leaving. This of course is assuming you don't have a tenant living in the same building as you. This will make sure that nothing happens in the house while you're not there. An alternative to this would be to install an automatic shutoff valve like this one. These are designed to close the water to the building if a leak is detected. I made a thorough video on this device, so if you want to see more, just click here or use the link in the description box. Number 9 is to simply raise your thermostats. Running your thermostats higher doesn't cost you more as many may believe. What costs you more is the climb from a cooler temperature to a hotter one. Keeping a house at 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 73 degrees Fahrenheit costs the same price, so it might be worth spending the extra money to keep your pipes from freezing. Number 10 is something that pretty much everyone knows, and it's to leave a faucet dripping. The main reason why water freezes in a pipe is because it's still. Water in movement is a lot harder to freeze. We could kind of compare it to rivers and lakes. The lake will freeze way before a river that's in movement. This little trick is good when the temperatures decide to drop below normal, and what's fun is that no materials or tools are needed. Number 11 applies more to a building that is left unheated for long periods of times, and it's to use antifreeze. Your water lines are prone to freezing, but so are your drains. Your drains have what is known as a P-trap, which has a small amount of water inside to prevent sewage odors from coming inside the house. This small amount of water could freeze and cause damage from it expanding. So a simple thing to do is to put a very small amount of RV antifreeze in the sink, toilet, and toilet tank, and shower or bathtub drain. This is great for vacation homes, swimming pools, and all kinds of other things. And lastly is opening your cupboards. If you've already had a frozen pipe in a cupboard, a pretty cool solution is to just leave the doors open and let the heat from the room circulate through them, just as a precaution when it gets really cold. You could also use your small heater to add some protection. And there you have it. 12 ways to prevent a major disaster when it starts getting cold. If you want to see all kinds of other solutions to plumbing problems, I left links of these videos in the description box below so you could be ahead of the game. And as always, if you learned something from this video, go ahead and like it by clicking the thumbs up button and sharing with your friends. And until the next one, Thanks for watching.